What's up YouTube, Dave here from Zephyr Wargames, bringing you a test stand video for the Magical Musket deck profile. Now remember, this is our Toon World proxy. I just wanted to make it as obvious a card as possible. So what we're going to do with these Magical Muskets, because they're a little bit different for the test hands, is we'll do 3 test hands going first and 3 test hands going second to show the difference between a 5-card hand and a 6-card hand. We do obviously have duels coming up tomorrow that will show this off a little bit better in action. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you the combos that they can make and when to kind of interact during your opponent's turn and stuff like that. So, without further ado, let's go with our opening hand of 5 being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not a bad hand at all for the pure sense that we've opened up with Ties of the Brethren. So, we would normal summon our Magical Musketeer Caspar and then we would activate our Ties of the Brethren. Now, Ties of the Brethren would resolve first off, obviously paying 2,000 life points and special summoning 2, as long as our opponent doesn't obviously Ash Blossom it. So, in this census, we will bring out a Magical Musketeer Kid Brave and, of course, the Magical Musketeer Doc. Now, Doc cannot bring back the same spell because ideally what you want to be doing is sorting that out first. Anyway, Magical Ties of the Brethren has resolved. We can now activate Caspar's effect because it was activated in the same column it is, and Caspar can now add one of the spells and traps. Now, at this moment in time, you're better off going for Fiendish Deal or Steady Hands because they're the only ones you can activate now this minute to kind of trigger off Kid Brave's effect or Doc's effect. So, you add Fiendish Deal, shuffle up the deck a bit. Now, your best play is to activate Fiendish Deal in a Magical Musketeer's Kid Brave's area. That obviously does its own thing, protects your monsters. Then activate Magical Musketeer Kid Brave's effect to pitch Zakiel, or you can pitch Last Stand. Now, the reason I would pitch Zakiel is because if I activate anything in Doc's zone, I can add Zakiel back to my hand. Because I only play 1, my draws, I'm not going to draw into another one, which means it doesn't brick. Whereas if I pitch this and draw into another one, I'm not going to be able to... I can bring it back, but it means I'm stuck with 2 counter traps that I can't activate both in the same turn. So Zakiel still gives me the ability of using it next turn. So anyway, Kid Brave's effect, pitch that and draw 2. Toon Table of Contents, which is really, really good actually. Massively helpful because we can now activate Toon Table of Contents in Doc's zone. Toon Table will again obviously activate and resolve, adding us another Toon Table of Contents. And then Doc's effect will go off and revive us Ezekiel back to hand. So, as you can tell from our hand, we've still got our normal 5 and we've technically plussed 4 because they're all on the board. Now, we would pass to our opponent, and during our opponent's turn we have 2 cards that we can now use. Obviously, we can't use Kid Brave's effect because he is locked out with Fiendish Deal, but we do have Magical Musket Cross Domination and Magical Musket Last Stand. So ideally you want to be activating in Caspar's zone first, whatever you play, because then Caspar will get you the search out again, and then whatever you play second, put it in Doc's zone, because then Doc can revive the first spell or trap you activated. So, for example, let's say our opponent activates Twin Twister to get rid of this, because then they want to Regeki this. If we go Magical Musket Last Stand, negate that spell. Obviously, the best thing about Musket Last Stand as well is it can be a counter to Solemn Warning and, of course, Solemn Strike because it is a spell speed free. So that's now activated and resolved. You then, on a separate chain, activate Caspar's effect. Caspar can then add whatever you want. Ideally, you'll be going with Desperado, or you can go with Needle if they've got a lot in graveyard already. So you add your Desperado, shuffle up your deck. Then if your opponent activates any field spells or anything like that, you can activate Desperado, pop it, or even a monster, anything like that. Then Doc's effect will go off, reviving your Last Stand back to hand. Now, you can't use Last Stand again this turn, but you do have Cross Domination that you can use, which obviously negates one of your opponent's monster effects. So you have more than enough negation that turn. And then moving into your next turn, obviously whatever you top deck, Ties of the Brethren, you can tribute off one of these for Ezekiel. Ideally, if you tribute off Kid Brave, you can put Ezekiel there, and it then reopens a couple of zones for you, or you put Ezekiel there, because Ezekiel's effect isn't really reliant on anything activating in his column. It's not really the end of the world. You can then, of course, activate Toon Table of Contents to get Kid Brave back, or Desperado, and then, of course, you've got Caspar there to kind of extend your plays a little bit further. So that just kind of gives you a small idea of what they can do, and of course that was under probably one of the better openings possible, getting Ties of the Brethren. So what we'll do is we'll do our second test stand going first, and we'll try and speed it up a little bit more now that we know kind of what they're doing, and go from there. So our next hand of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is the squeaky bit of the, so for those of you who don't know the expression squeaky bum time, it basically means it's a very, very nervous moment, and that is when your last card is your monster, because if we don't get a monster in this hand, that is where Magical Musketeers struggle. Anyway, we did, luckily enough, and of course we got the best ones as well, because we have got Toon Table of Contents, and of course Ties of the Brethren. So again, going first, normal summon your Starfire. It's entirely up to you. You can activate Toon Table of Contents and get a special summon off of Starfire, or you activate Ties of the Brethren. Now again, when Ties of the Brethren resolves, you can't special summon after that. So you wouldn't get the special summon off of Starfire, I do not believe, anyway. So it's whether you want the Starfire or whether you want the other 2 level 4s. Now we know the other 2 level 4s aren't as effective going first. So if we go Toon Table of Contents is probably your better play. That in turn searches you out another Toon Table of Contents. After that's resolved, Starfire's effect goes off, and ideally you probably want to be getting your Caspar and putting Caspar in defense mode. Now again, you could activate Ties of the Brethren here, paying your 2,000 life points, getting your Caspar to special summon out your Kid Brave and your Doc. Now straight away, we've blocked up 4 back row zones for our opponent, so our opponent cannot use those. Caspar effects then goes off and lets you search out your spell or trap, so you can go with Desperado, or of course you could go with the Last Stand. It's really dependent on what your opponent's playing by this point, if you already know. On top of that, you could then activate obviously Toon Table of Contents using Kid Brave's effect. So Toon Table of Contents will then search you out another Toon Table of Contents. We'll shuffle this up because there is a reason for that. So Toon Table resolves. Kid Brave's effect will go off. Now you can discard any of these ones that you wish. Entirely up to you, whatever one you want to discard. It depends, like I said, what your opponent's playing. If you get rid of this one, we're then going to plus 2 more. Then we can activate our third Toon Table of Contents in Dock Zone. Dock Zone will then, of course, Toon Table of Contents will search out our Tomb Well because it's the last one. And then Doc's effect will go off to bring you back your Magical Musket Steady hand. And our hand now looks like this. Obviously, we've got Tomb Well that we can activate during our opponent's and during our next turn. But during our opponent's turn, we have 1 cross dominate we can use, 1 steady hands, 1 last stand. Then of course we can search a Desperado off of Caspar. Starfire can special summon our Wild Heart if we want him to, and then that can then shuffle stuff back and let us go again. Or we go into Calamity, and again she can then in turn extend our plays that bit further. So again, a very, very powerful hand on that one. Ties of the Brethren again playing a massive, massive part. You've just got to remember the clause on Ties of the Brethren that you cannot special summon after it resolves. So do all your special summoning before it resolves, and make sure you do it all before your battle phase. So obviously, ideally, if you play evenly matched in the deck, you do not want to be going into your battle phase and have Ties of the Brethren because it won't help you extend as far. Anyway, our next opening hand of 5 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum for the pure sense that we've got more monsters than we do spells and traps. The biggest issue with this is neither of these monsters' effects can really go off. So whatever you put on the board is only going to be acting there as a steady hands kind of protection. So if you activate normal summon your Magical Musketeer Wild, there's very little more for you to do because you can't shuffle back from the graveyard, you can't special summon back with the graveyard with Calamities. All you're really going to be doing is passing your turn and then activating that during your opponent's turn. Hopefully, ideally during the damage step to kind of boost Wild Heart to 34 and going from there. And then of course you can normal summon your YUGIOH next turn and kind of play it that way. So that is one of our slower hands. Of course, if we opened up with Caspar or Kid Brave, we might have had a bit more leniency. But usually with the way it goes, you see your 1-ofs more than you see your 3-ofs, which makes no sense in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But that is the way it is. Anyway, now let's see what we get when we go second with our 6-card hands. And remember, going second, yes, it does increase your chances and consistency of drawing what you need, but it does also increase the chance of your opponent's disruption, which is what you do not want with Magi Bullets. Anyway, our next hand will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is actually an amazing hand for the census that if we normal summon our Starfire, we can pretty much get the same plays off that we did before. We would activate our Toon Table of Contents. Of course, that will then resolve adding a Toon Table of Contents. There we go. Starfire's effect will then go off. Now, her effect brings them out in defense. So ideally, you're going for your cast bar. You activate your Toon Table of Contents under cast bar if you wish. The only downside by doing it this way is you cannot activate Ties of the Brethren because Doc is at 1. So you would activate your Toon Table of Contents. That in turn will search you out your Toon Table, and on top of that will then search you out another cast bar target. Then you've got Desperado, and you kind of go from there. Your other alternative on this one would have been to normal summon your Doc instead of your Starfire, and then Ties of the Brethren, that one. This one gives you a battle phase in the sense of 1300. Other than that, that's kind of the way this one goes. Again, your alternative would have been to normal summon out your Doc instead. Activate your Ties of the Brethren under Doc. That would have given you... let's put those back into deck. So that was our opening hand there. Those four plus those 2 there. You'd activate Ties of the Brethren. That in turn would then give you your Caspar and give you your Kid Brave. Now this is your more defensive play. There's no point in Doc's effect going off right now, but you do obviously have Toon Table of Contents, which would get you a search of that one, and of course give you your Caspar effect, which again in turn can search out another spell of Trap, which again you can activate during your opponent's turn. So if you think your opponent's gonna, well, they would have activated a Strike by now, but if you think they've got anything like that, you can pitch that on them. Other than that, you can activate your Toon Table of Contents under Kid Brave. And again, this is the best kind of combo to work with, is your Toon Table of Contents will search you out your Toon World. You shuffle up your deck. Use Kid Brave's effect to pitch your Musket Fiendish Deal. Draw 2. Oh, hold that steady. Then, of course, you could activate your Upstart Goblin, or you could activate your Toon Table of Contents, whichever one, your Toon World, under your Magical Musketeer Doc. Draw 1 off of Upstart, send that to Graveyard. Doc would then revive you back your Fiendish Deal to hand, and then you can hold on to that until your opponent's turn. During your opponent's turn, you can activate Fiendish Deal in any of these. Obviously, Kid Brave would then pitch and draw 2. Then, ideally, you'd want to activate under Caspar to get you to search. And then finally, whatever you have left, you would activate under Doc, and Doc would then revive either of these 2 back, this one back to your hand. So it kind of gives you more alternatives and options, of course, going more defensive with Ties of the Brethren rather than moving forward with a normal summon, unless you feel that you could absolutely do huge amounts of damage to your opponent that turn. Anyway, let's do another test hand going second. So this is our second test hand going second, I believe. So our next hand of 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this is going to be a bit more of an interesting one, because what we will do, ideally, you either go for the special summon with Starfire, or you go with the luck of drop and draw with Kid Brave. Alternatively, you could, of course, Starfire, then go into Kid Brave, and then Kid Brave, and hopefully you get your Ties of the Brethren. It's really down to you. Obviously, the issue with this, the Ties of the Brethren, is it will be your level 4s that you go for, not your level 3s, because Doc is in your hand. So it's entirely up to you on how you want to play this. Your more offensive play, you're probably better off going with the Starfire play again. Activate, where are we? Devilish Deal if we want to, or of course we could activate Desperado just to not clog out her zone. Desperado, pop a card on the field. Her effect can then special summon out either your Kid Brave or of course your Caspar. Caspar in turn could then search. If you activate Steady Hands here, targeting your Starfire to put her onto 26. Caspar's effect would go off to search you out any of the spells and traps that you believe are kind of ideal for your type of plays. Or, of course, you had the alternative for Kid Brave to pitch dock, draw 2. The options are there for you. It was really up to you. This way, with Starfire, you had more board presence with having 2 magical muskets on board rather than 1 if you did it. If you did it the Kid Brave way, you had more of a defensive one with Caspar having a 2k defense and a Searcher rather than a drop and draw. Anyway, let's do our last test stand guy in second. So our 6 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Your best kind of play here is starting off with Starfire because she will get you 2 on board. So you normal summon your Starfire, activate your Upstart Goblin, give your opponent 1,000, but then you're going to draw 1. In turn, Starfire will resolve. Starfire can go into Kid Brave, which will give you a pitch and draw, which is absolutely fine because we want to be digging for those ties of the Brethren on this one. Let's go with activate Desperado, pop one of our opponent's cards face up, use Kid Brave's effect to pitch Caspar. Now obviously gambling if you pitch Caspar because then you haven't got a monster in hand, but it's ideally that these 3 are more relevant to you. Or of course the next one that I would say to pitch would be Fiendish Deal, but again you can chain that if your opponent wants to ghost over you or anything like that. So pitching Caspar, drawing 2, going into Ezekiel, and of course Starfire. So we've used both of these effects already. Attacking for 13 if you want, or you hold back. You've then got the ability to protect your monsters next turn. You've got an ability to banish from your opponent's graveyard, and you've got the ability to negate a spell or trap. And then of course off of Kid Brave we could then pitch one of these and draw 2. Of course Starfire could special summon out Caspar, which you can then extend your plays further off that way as well. So it's very strategic. You have to think quite a lot about which one you want to bring out because there are different routes and different opportunities depending on what Magi Bullet you bring out from your deck. As you saw, obviously, you don't rely on the extra deck as much, and there is a good reason for that. Is Magi Bullets are strong as hell as they are anyway. But that is the Magi Bullet test stand video. Like I said, it's more about talking you through when and kind of what they do rather than showing you full-on test stands because it is all down to what your opponent has and how they want to play it. Of course, Ash Blossom can hurt this deck, but the best thing about this deck is it has ways around Ash Blossom. It's not the end of the world unless it is your last card or it's your top deck. In that sense, I have looked at stuff like Pot of Duality, because you very rarely special summon, if you don't have a Starfire and you only have a Caspar, Pot of Duality could help you, but of course under Ties of the Brethren as well, you do want a special summon. There are other alternatives with Strikes and Warnings. They are a bit more defensive, with the times that you open up with only your 1 monster and no Ties of the Brethren. You could also put Double Summon in here as well. That can help you flood out your board a little bit more. This is just a version of mine where I've kind of gone with a balance of traps and hand traps. So you're either disrupting your opponent during your turn or you're trying to extend your plays during your turn. And in total honesty, I'm much happier sitting on the 1 monster that can then extend my board presence like the Starfire into Caspar, into so on and so forth, while having obviously an Ash in hand, and a Maxi can be a bit more disruptive if I do lose the dice roll. But there are options and ways to work around the deck if you wish. This just kind of seems the type of build that has suited me. Like I said, counter trap version, hand trap version, or just being able to flood your board version. So if you do want to see any of those different adaptations, or you do have any kind of comments, then please let us know. But this kind of shows you how control based they are, in the sense that they can disrupt your opponent quite a lot. These are Magi Bullets. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. I hope this gives you an idea of how they kind of work and the ways to kind of play them. And until next time, guys, as always, oh yeah, check out the duels this weekend. It is with James's summon build. So like I said, this is hand trap build. James is playing the summon build, so you can kind of see the differences between the two. But yeah, it also shows you Weatheries and Six Sams in action as well. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, whole 9 yards. And until next time, guys, as always, happy dueling. If you like that video, why not check out our other videos available? We've got more deck profiles, pack openings, and of course duels. And don't forget to click on the most important button of all, that subscribe button, right in the bottom left hand corner.